Welcome to Spectrum Perspectives, real talk with parents, professionals, and autism advocates, with your host, Cindy Gellermini.
Hi, everybody. This is Cindy with another episode of Spectrum Perspectives. And today, I have a very special guest with me. I have Kirk Smith, who is a professional comedian, an autism dad. He's also a podcaster. He's got the podcast called Autastic. And that's where I found him. Actually, when I came out with my children's books a year ago, people started asking me to be on their podcast. And to be honest, I didn't even know what a podcast was. I had never listened to one before. So I said, let me find out what these things are. And I went on Apple and I just wanted to listen to an autism podcast. And the first one that I found was Autastic. And it was Autastic. I really liked it. And Kirk is on with his co-host. And I really enjoyed the show. And then when I found out you're professional comedians, when I did my mom's retreat back in October, I really wanted a comedian. I thought it was really important for moms to laugh. I believe that, the proverb says that laughter is good medicine, for your body. And I think it's really important. So how cool was it to find a comedian that is actually an autism dad that could do some autism humor to make the moms laugh? So
yeah,
really
I thought the ladies enjoyed it. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, they did. They really had a good time and they loved you. They loved having you there. So yeah, I got some good feedback. So I'm sorry, I didn't even say welcome to the show. Hi, Kirk. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's good to be here. Back in New York, 30-degree weather. Yesterday was 19. We're doing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So his gigs are cruise ships down in Mexico and in tropical places. And you landed right when we hit about 10 degrees here.
Yeah, no, it's good. All joking aside, it's good to be back. Yeah, cruise ships are not like everybody's dream, but it's a weird time and it's gigs. And so moving forward. So we're doing the cruise ships. So yeah.
Yeah, it's just like it's drastic weather change, though.
It is. Last time I came up in November, same thing. I think I got a little sick because you feel, you don't feel the cold. You walk around all day. And not really. I didn't bring a coat because you just forget, and you're like, "Oh, I'll be fine." It's like, well, a coat would be good.
Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah. You got to get the kind that you can roll up into a little sack and just.
I've got one of those Uniqlo little. Yeah. But
we have relatives that live in Florida, and I think your blood thins when you're in the hot climate all the time. And whenever they come up to New Jersey, they're absolutely freezing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. It's
all
definitely
right.
different.
So I'm going to interview you the same as I do every autism parent. And we start in the very beginning and we go all the way back to when your wife was pregnant with JJ. And were there any red flags, any kind of signs? Did the doctor say anything ahead of time that, we need to monitor this pregnancy, anything like that? And then tell me about the delivery. Were there any kind of complications or was it all normal?
Yeah, no real signs that I can recall anything. I have a daughter who's older. JJ has my son with autism is named JJ, and his older sister's named Alex, and she was a totally normal birth, and it was like not. I mean, it's always easy for a man to say a normal pregnancy, but it seemed normal. My wife didn't really have a lot of issues or.
Yeah, but when you went for the ultrasound and stuff, they didn't say, "Oh, wait, we think we see something," right? None of that happened, right?
They didn't have morning sickness like she had with Alex. And yeah, there was nothing on the scan, and his birth was a little complicated. That he was kind of cone-headed. We joked that he came out like his head was a little bit. He was in the birth canal too long. I think it was what it was, or something like that. They didn't really explain it to us very well. I mean, we were such young parents. I was 24 with him. And so you just don't know anything. It's just me and her, and just So in hindsight, I think there might have been something a little, because his head was really kind of cone shaped, a little bit like squished, and he's kind of a big head. And his mom was kind of a petite woman, and like 5'2", like a very kind of a small framed woman, and he was a big baby, big kid. So. That was the only thing that was a little bit like, in hindsight, I wonder sometimes if there was when you're young, you feel like doctors are like Superman. And as you get older, you're like, oh no, these are just people that don't know, or kind of, they're smart people, but they're making educated guesses, and they don't know everything. And they certainly don't know everything about autism or things like this. So I wonder if there was a complication that led to the severity of his autism versus just a regular kind of run of the mill, I don't know, Elon Musk autism. So,
Right.
but he, although his head was a little bit like cone shaped when he was first born, quickly like rounded out. And he was like a really cute kid, like really just cute kid, little green eyes, little run around, walked very early, 9 months.
Yeah, that's early.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and pretty big kid, so he could reach things. It was kind of a nightmare, that stuff. And now in hindsight, he walked on his toes, which is, now we know is a sign of, but at the time, I don't know.
Right.
Honestly, I talk about this in my act, but honestly, in 97, autism wasn't really talked about. You had Rain Man, and that was kind of it. There was no, the good doctor. There's no internet, not really. I mean, kind of, but it wasn't something like people, you kind of had on your computer, but wasn't the wealth of information they have now. There's no Wikipedia, there's no WebMD, there's no, the Mayo Clinic didn't put all the things online. It wasn't like you could just Google. So I'd never heard of autism. We don't really have any disability in my family that I know of. And so it wasn't something that was even on my radar at all.
Right.
So,
right.
And then when he was about 2, just under 2, right around the times that everybody else has the same stories, he just kind of like stopped responding to his name. And
did he speak any words at all?
Yeah, he spoke a few things. And, sometimes I wonder like if my mind's playing tricks on me, but the way I recall it is he could speak a little bit more than he does now. Just not a lot more, but he had a couple of more words that he said. Specific little foods that he wanted, and yeah, that's all gone. So then he started like he'd face the wall or face the corner, and then he wouldn't respond to his name. So then we thought he was deaf. So then, because he just wouldn't answer it, and his name is JJ, and we're like, JJ, and he's just sitting there staring in the corner, staring. And so we're like, well, he must be deaf or lost his hearing. So then we took him to this little, they can test that. They put you under and they test your hearing, and he just to give you an idea of the kind of kid he's like 2, and they start to put the IV in him, and he runs away from the nurse, and he's running down the hall like a little gown, laughing. He's a fun little kid, and but anyway, the test came back negative for the hearing, meaning he can hear.
Wait, hold on, because
fine.
I went through that test too, and my kid wouldn't go down. He was just walking around like he was drunk,
right,
and laughing.
Right. So they gave the thing, and then he like was supposed to be, but and we know this now, but a lot of autistic kids, the drugs work differently on them. So some of the things that are supposed to knock them out, give them active, and some things that make them active, knock them out,
right,
or calm them down. So their wiring is a little bit different, as the way it's explained to me. What was I saying?
What was the test?
So the test is for hearing. So the results were he can hear fine.
Right.
So then we're like, okay, well that's odd, because clearly he's not answering to his name. So then we had a doctor there who was like, kind of sat us down, and I remember that pretty clearly. It was 20 years ago now, more. And he's like, yeah, your son has autism, and I'd never heard of it, and I was just like a little bit like, oh, okay, like I don't know, I didn't know what to, because they're basically telling you like there's something wrong with your son, but you look at your son and there's physically nothing wrong with him. He's like a cute little kid, and physically like very energetic, and
right.
And so it was a tough thing to get your head around. I was basically a kid myself, so I'm like, I wasn't exactly prepared to like.
Right.
So, but then as the years go on, it just becomes clearer and clearer. Like stuff that's cute when they're little is just less and less cute. He really likes women, and so he'd get kind of handsy with women. It's like that's cute when you're 2 or 3. It's just not when you're a man.
Right.
or he likes to get naked, which is also kind of funny. Prepubescent's kind of funny. Less funny when you're, bigger than me. So yeah. So the problems just became more and more pronounced.
Were you going to a pediatrician at the time? What were they saying?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it was like, and I joke about like
Were you in
respected
the
doctors.
States at that time? Were
I was
you
in the
living in,
States.
you were,
Yeah, I was
okay.
in the States living in the Bay Area. And I joke about, I respected doctors until I dated the doctor. And I'm like, oh, you're just some girl. You're just a person that's just like everybody else who has problems, and you're trying your best, but you're
Right.
not like, you're just some
Mhm.
person. So I remember the doctor picture, who was also just happened to be a woman, but she was just, I don't think was as up on it as she could have been either. But again, at the time, it wasn't
a thing.
really a thing. People
Right.
weren't really talking about it. It was
Right.
like the numbers were much lower. And I don't know, like she just, because I feel like we would always try to describe to her the severity of what we're experiencing with him. And then she'd be like, oh yeah, he's a little slow. It's a little slow. Like he's not,
Yeah. Yeah.
he's not potty trained at all. He's
Right.
not talking at all. He's literally climbing up on shelves and just emptying the cupboards onto the floor. Like it's not like
Mhm.
he would
Yeah.
take all the videos. This is back when he had VCR tapes, which kids don't probably know what that is, but it's
Mhm.
like, it's like these giant cassette tapes, and he would line them end to end throughout the house, and he had a system. And if you moved him, he'd throw a fit, and you move him back to the same spot. That needs to be here. That needs to be here. Things like that make your like day-to-day life just like, or he'd, every once in a while shove a peanut butter sandwich in the VCR, and so I'm trying to clean it out. So, and then the doctor's like, yeah, he's a little different. Yeah,
Yeah.
but more than just a little different. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was a rough kid, but not, I don't know. And then, it was a different time too. So, I was brought up really, what's a good way of saying this? My parents were very religious, which is good.
Yeah.
It can be good.
Well, they were
but
missionaries. That's why
Yeah.
I asked, just for people that don't know you, I didn't know if you were in the States at that time but your parents were missionaries and you grew up in El Salvador. Right?
Ecuador and El Salvador. Yeah.
Okay,
Spent
right.
4 in Ecuador, in El Salvador, and 7 in Ecuador and Costa Rica. But in all that to say, they raised me like old school. I got spanked a lot. So,
Yeah.
with him at the beginning,
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
yes. So I used to spank him, give him a little swat in the behind with my hand.
Mhm. Right.
Well, none of that really worked.
No.
And so, we figured that out quickly. And it was like,
Right.
we were spanked with belts and stuff. But anyway, like I never spanked with a belt, but even just the hand, none of that ever worked. It was like
No.
clearly like he just does not get what's happening.
No.
And so, and then he would oftentimes if you spanked him, have his feelings hurt and have just an absolute meltdown.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, but you're destroying literally everything in this house.
Yeah. Right.
From pulling doors off their hinges to pulling up the flooring to pipes to we went through a phase where we had just plastic dinnerware, and we had a few years of that.
Yeah, your story is so similar to mine. It's really funny. I woke up one morning to the sound of crashing, and I went downstairs, and Robbie used to get up early, and my husband would get up and put the VCR tape in for him to watch a movie. And he decided he didn't want to watch that one. He wanted to watch a different one. And my husband had left. He went out to get coffee or something. And so since he couldn't find him, he decided to take all my dishes and throw them down into the basement. And I heard all my dishes smashing on the concrete basement floor. That was the sound that I heard in the morning. And needless to say, I went nuts. You're crazy. What are you doing? Like it's like you can put up with so much, and then they push you over.
Yeah, but everybody has a breaking point.
Yeah. Yeah. Same thing. Doors off the hinges. He used to slam all my cabinet drawers in the kitchen until the fronts actually all fell off. My doors were all off the hinges, holes in the walls. And he would wear a diaper
because he doesn't sleep.
Yep. And the diaper would leak, everywhere. He would, throw the cushions off my couch. Like the place was always destroyed.
Yeah, you got like a little poo-poo Picasso making some artwork out of his own feces. It's a mess.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then you're sleep deprived because he won't sleep normal hours, so you're a little cranky. The whole thing is tough. It's impossible.
Yeah, it really is.
So.
Yeah. So when he was diagnosed, what did they suggest that you do? Did they say to put him in a special school to get him therapies or what?
Yeah, so at the time it was like we got him in Head Start, or we're in California at the time, the Bay Area, and it was I believe it was called Head Start, and it was like pre-kindergarten. So he went in when he was like young, like 3 or something, because And they were just like, well, we think there's something wrong, something's, wrong, but nobody would be like, this is what he needs. He needs, and again, I don't blame like teachers I don't feel like they were as educated as they could have been at the time either, but there weren't solid suggestions until about, I think we started like a version of ABA when he was like, I guess 3.5, 4. We tried to students our day like this, like pecs, and like you've got little pictures, and like you're trading in pictures that have Velcro on them. Like, hey, we're gonna do this, and then after this, we're gonna go to the store. If you clean up your room, then we'll go to McDonald's. A picture of French fries, and that was his big thing. McDonald's was like his McDonald's, man. McDonald's was like that was it. All the hot, salty food that's sugary, and
Yep.
So I mean, he's been in therapy for, it's coming up on 18, 19 years.
Yeah.
That we've been trying stuff.
Right.
And
And then what about when he turned
everything.
5?
Well, then he was in okay, so let me get this right. But her mom was Swedish. So my mother-in-law. So her mom gets really bad cancer, and she's like, I want to take care of my mom. My mom's dying. I want to go home to Sweden. It's going to be like a few weeks. And so then we're like, oh, okay. And now he was probably 3 at the time, 2 or 3. So I'm like, okay. So then we had, by the time, moved on to Southern Cal. So she goes to Sweden. So then after a few weeks, her mom was not, it sounds weird to say like this, but she wasn't dying. She was still taking cancer. And so she's like, I want to stay, take care of my mom. And so then I was like, oh, because I transferred to the UK. So we did a year where he was in, we were in Sweden. I was in the UK and they were in Sweden. And I go to Sweden on the weekends. I had like a kind of a traveling job I could do out there, a corporate job. And then we came back to the States after that year, and the same company moved me to Connecticut. So there he was in this special, it was a regular school, it doesn't matter. But he had an aide, and it was like, and she would kind of do the best she could, and he was, little at the time, manageable, and he's always been very sweet, like very huggy and smiley, and so if he likes to be tickled and kind of roughhoused a little bit. He has like really strong tactile issues, so we used to get these brushes, these sensory brushes, to brush him. And then, I don't know what I was doing, but I was a kid, when I was probably 25, and I was a college athlete, and I'm like, what we could do to get him over these tactile issues is just kind of grab him. And so I was kind of like a little, just grab him, like he loves it. So now, then he loved, like, he just likes to be like grabbed and like squished or like sat on or like wrestled. Which is cute when you're 60 pounds, less so when you're 260 pounds. But anyway, it's a different issue. But at the time, I didn't know. I'm like, oh, he's going to come out of this and we're going to be a running back in college. It'll be great. So we were a year there. Well, then Connecticut was tough. He used to run away. In Sweden, he'd run away naked too in the snow. Connecticut, he'd run away naked in the snow. And so we're like, well, we could, at the time, Texas was like really cheap. And they offered me a job in Texas, same company. We could get a job in Texas and buy what we need. You're just trying things for your kids. You're like, I don't know what you're doing, but what we need is we're going to try this swim therapy, and we can get a pool, and we can get him a separate room, because he like one time I got a brand new car, the only time I've ever bought a brand new car, and he got a fire extinguisher and like let it loose in the car and emptied the whole thing, and not ruined it, but close. The first week I bought the car. So we're like, what we need is more space. He needs more space. We'll put in hardwood floors, and he can like, because he still wasn't potty trained. He's like 5, he's still peeing he'd go pee in the closet half the time. You're like, come on, man. So we tried Texas. Then we were there 5 years. So probably like 5 to 10, something like that. And he was like 5 to 10. We tried this swim therapy, we tried this horse therapy. Well, when he does the horses, that was the few times he would talk. He would tell the horse, walk on or stop.
Okay.
Like that's the only time he would, other than parroting things or like repeating back certain VeggieTales cartoons he'd like, but like he would tell that horse to walk on. He's ready to go, walk on, walk on.
Okay.
So you'd have these like weird little moments where you're like, well,
Right.
you can do that.
Right. Exactly.
Please
Then
stop
why can't
pooping
you
yourself.
do this?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, it drives you nuts. What about school out there? Did they have a school for him?
So he was in a special school. He was in the school, but a special class. And I think I did this joke with you, but they would call me every week and be like, we think there's something wrong with your boy. I'm like, yeah, really? You think so? This special kid, I put in a special bus, the special school is special.
Yeah. Exactly.
What gave it away? The fact that he's wearing Batman pajamas every day? It's like, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you a teacher or a student at the school? What's happening?
Yeah. Are you a special ed teacher? I don't
yes.
understand.
You're not under. So, well, then we saw, and again, my life is like a series of like, I don't know, we tried stuff. But we saw this school on CNN. They did a story on the special school in New York City, and it's just an autism school. There's 600 students and 800 students, and half of the students come out of it, and we're like, oh, okay, so that sounds cool. So it was PS 176X up in the Bronx. And so then, at the time, especially I was very spiritual, and we prayed about it. I'm like, okay, I think we're supposed to do this, and then, oh, if we're supposed to do it, then we'll list our house, and if it sells, and then like it sold the next day, we had an offer, something like that. So, oh, I guess we're supposed to go. So we came back up here. So we tried it again. So yeah, so we did 5 years at that school. Now that school was probably, I think it was a good experience. I felt like they had dedicated resources and teachers who, some had done 20, 30 years in autism. They knew what they were doing. They had nothing surprised them. There was never a call like, you're not going to believe this. He pooped and threw it or whatever. They're like, yeah, I'm not surprised at all. I do believe that. So they were never like surprised. Now, we had a few problems like on the bus. We had some other problems that were really like, some heartbreaking, he's got like picked on, or somebody taught him to say, I'm stupid, which was like very frustrating and painful. And then he had a problem with.
So he was riding the bus with regular ed kids then? It wasn't a special
kids.
It was special ed kids?
Yeah, it was special ed kids. Yeah.
Oh, it was all special ed kids on the bus. Picking on other special ed kids?
So
that's not right.
And then somebody like attacked him and like bit him. And we had a couple problems there. It's tough.
There was no aide on the bus keeping an eye on everybody?
That one there wasn't. There was a driver, and I felt like we had to go talk to them. It was an absolute nightmare because you feel like, he's a big kid, and so the kid that attacked him was this little kid. So I'm like, if you want, I'll teach him to box, and he'll beat the snot out of this other kid. I mean, if you want me to teach him to defend himself, I will. I'm trying to not make him because he was big.
Right.
That's all you need is him to learn how to fight. Now we have a problem. If he learns how to throw a jab or a hook or something, now we got a real issue. Yeah.
So, because he'll start hitting everybody.
Yeah. He'll just start dropping people. So,
right.
And the other kid, if I remember right, they were like, oh, we want you to know that we don't think it broke the skin. So like, what are you talking about? So I think the other kid either had AIDS or he had something.
Oh.
So yeah. So then we had him tested for everything. He's fine. But it's like, that stuff's, like he has enough problems without being beat up by other disabled kids and getting AIDS. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Great.
Yeah. So then, what did you ask me? I don't even remember what you asked me.
Oh, I just like to go through the timeline of them in school.
So
what kind of therapies did they get?
Yeah.
What kind of school did they go to? That kind of stuff. I'm curious about the relationship with his sister. What was that like? How many years older is she than him?
Year and a half.
Oh,
Irish
okay. That's
twins.
not okay. That's pretty close. See,
Very
because
close.
for us, my girls were almost 5 years older than Robbie, and they were like mothers to him, and they would baby him and take care of him and babysit him and all that. But my fourth child, my son, who's 5 years younger, totally different relationship with Robbie. He was afraid of him. He was embarrassed. He wouldn't have his friends come over and play because Robbie used to make weird noises and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like the relationship my girls had with Robbie is rare.
Well, I think girls and boys interact very differently too, in my opinion. In
True.
general, girls are much more empathetic as people than men. That's not.
Yeah,
That's not
I mean,
news.
he was just their baby that they took care of, just like playing with dolls,
Yeah.
but boys, if you can't play baseball with me, then I'm not interested in you.
Yeah, if you can't compete, you don't want to fight, you don't want to, yeah.
Mhm.
Well, the thing is, like, the final chapter is not written, so I'm always hesitant to but
No, but I
felt
mean,
like
what was it
at the
like when they
time,
were, like
at the
middle
time,
school
she was
age?
very supportive. You know,
Mhm.
she did this whole at that school, she went to a different school, but she did a whole ban the R word campaign,
Mhm.
talking about retarded. And then she
Right.
did a whole, so she was very protective of him. I remember one
Were
time
they in the same school building or no? They were in two totally different
in New
buildings.
York City, not, but in Texas they were. And
Okay.
she, I do remember this. I should talk about this on stage. I forgot about this, but we did get called in one time because she's like a really pretty feminine girl, you know, not particularly big but she got in trouble for punching somebody for calling her brother stupid. She didn't like that. She's about 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Got called in for fighting. Fighting?
Yeah.
Yeah, somebody called him stupid. I didn't like it, and I punched her.
Oh,
So,
well.
okay, there you go.
Well, see that you don't have to teach JJ how to box. Your daughter do it for him.
I did actually. It is, that is funny about being a parent is I only have 2. So I've got a girl and a boy. And so, in a weird sense, you feel like some of the stuff for your son has been robbed from you. So then your poor daughter gets like, I did teach her how to box. I did teach her how to because I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like, you should know. I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman know how to throw a punch and just how to duck a punch. And this is a complicated world and there's some bad people out there, and there's
Yeah,
nothing wrong with
especially
learning how
living
to,
in the Bronx. Got to
yeah,
know how
you
to
live
defend
yeah,
yourself.
you're at the train. Yeah. Just keep your hands up, move like this, just basics. I used to box a little bit. So yeah, I taught her, probably more things than she would have liked to know. Cause you pour a lot. It makes the relationship, as I get older, I realize now more, it makes the relationships, everything very complicated because unknowingly we do all these, or knowingly we do all these moves and things for the disabled kid that somehow the other kid might feel a little, I don't say left out, but like a little left out, and I think some of that stuff doesn't manifest until later.
Right.
Because they don't realize the attention that they did miss. And then when they start to get the attention, they like it. Who doesn't like attention? So, yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
It's a different issue,
All parents look back and be like, yeah, maybe that was dumb. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. You don't
for
really.
me, so many mistakes.
Yeah.
So many mistakes. Yeah,
I was young too. I was only 21 when I had twin girls. And then I had Robbie when I was 25. I had no idea what autism was either. So people have kids a lot later these days, but yeah, things are different. Usually your kids will remind you of all the mistakes that you made, right?
That's what they're there for, to resent you forever. Yes.
Yes. I remember when I'm like, I did not.
That's why I say when I talk about my dad spanking me, I'm like, it was a different time. I don't know what to tell you. It was a very, very different time. So.
Yep. Yes, it was. Okay. So where's JJ now?
So his mom because her mom was Swedish, had a Swedish passport. Yeah. So my kids have dual citizenship through their mom because their grandma was Swedish, the maternal grandma. And so, we got him placed when his mom started getting more and more ill. And we got him placed in a group home as a kind of last resort thing. The thing about a group home in Sweden is, first of all, it's free, which is insane that we don't have healthcare here that's free for the disabled people. That's, I pay for his, his clothes and his computers and his things and, whatever the toys but I don't pay for the people. And that's the expensive part. If I had to hire people to watch him full time around the clock here, I don't know what we're talking about, 8-9 grand a month. And to clear 8 grand a month, I got to make 12, and you know how taxes work. So versus there, he can.
So it's covered under the healthcare there?
Yeah, because he's a Swedish citizen. He's a dual citizen.
Right.
And so we got him. It was a small miracle, honestly. But I didn't know what I was going to do, because now I tour a lot. But the time I was not touring, it's not possible to tour like that when you've got kids.
Right.
And one's disabled. You can go out and do some gigs, but you're not like. and he gets care that I couldn't provide for him. He has epilepsy. He has a few other health problems. He needs basically 24-hour care. He still has accidents. He can't cook for himself. He can't drive. He can't. So the situation is great. There's like 7 residents, probably 25 staff that rotate through 3 at a time, in shifts, three shifts a day. And it's great. It's care that should be available here, honestly. And so then we do, I think a lot of parents have like these, or at least I for sure, I feel like guilt about things I could have done different, or providing or seeing them more. And then my mom was like, when you were 22, we didn't see you every day. It's like, you're 22, you're not, he has some issues, but he's a man. He's not 5. And so it's not like super ideal, but for me, it's great. I mean, as far as like, I feel safe about the care he's getting. He had, we're getting his seizures under control. He gets tonic colonics, what these called grand mals. And so getting that under control. His mom and I often disagreed about, God rest her soul, but disagreed on medication. She really did not want him to take any medication, and I was a little more open to it, especially as he got older and bigger.
Well, especially though with seizures. See, I didn't like the idea of meds either until he had the seizures, which scared the living daylights out of me.
But I mean, you and I might disagree on this. A lot of times smart people disagree, but I feel like if he doesn't sleep, nobody sleeps.
Well, yeah, no. Oh yeah, he was on clonidine from the time he was 5 to go to sleep.
Okay,
and
yeah,
again,
so
that was my husband.
Stuff.
Yeah, that was my husband put his foot down, and he's like, no, he needs to sleep. Yeah.
So that's another big mistake I made. I should have done that. I should have been like, nah, we had some, knockdown, drag out fight, not literally, but you have some big fights about it. The thing is, nobody knows anything. Everybody's kind of guessing. And so it's like, but in hindsight,
that's the problem. Yeah.
In hindsight, if I had to do it again, that's a big one I would do. I'd really put my foot down, like, nah, because then she doesn't get sleep. So it screws up. You're like, you're sleep deprived. So then you don't think straight. You're sleep deprived for 10, 15 years. It messes with your head. It's literally, I mean, I'm not exaggerating. It's 10, 15 years.
No, I know. I was expecting you to say 10, 15 days. And it's like, no, 15 years. Yeah, which is true. Which is,
and it's like, it does something to it's not good for your psyche. Like, no wonder you get depressed. It's like, because you don't get to sleep.
Yeah.
And I have a blessing and a curse. If I sleep like you were telling me the dishes story, I would have slept through it. I'd sleep through a house fire. When I'm out, I'm done. I'm done. I'm asleep. It's like, you got to literally shake me and be like, hey, wake up.
Yeah.
So, what was that answer? So he's in Sweden. So then I go see him every 3 months. We do like 4 times a year. We have these calls every day at 2. We do a quick call. A lot of the calls are him like, busy trying to look at his videos. Bye-bye. I'm like, okay, talk to me for a minute. Don't go yet. Bye-bye. Bye. Okay, hold on a second. Just want to talk to you for 1 minute.
Right.
And his age, like, Dr. Papa, 1 minute. So, he's doing good. I got him a car that they drive him around in. That was a big deal because he doesn't listen. And public transportation is big in Sweden. But the thing is, he won't get off sometimes he just won't listen. He won't get off the bus. And so then if he gets off the next stop, now you got a 2-mile walk, and sometimes he won't walk. He'll just sit down. It's 260. Now what?
Right.
So versus in a car.
Yeah, because he's a big dude.
Big boy. In a car, if he just sits down, sometimes you'll take him someplace, he won't get out of the car. Well, that's fine. Just sit in the car. That's, you went to the store and he will sit in the car. That's fine.
Right. It's fine. It's a different thing when you're on a bus or train. Yeah.
So he has a car, he has his computers. We're still hopeful, or at least I'm still hopeful about basic employment. My co-host Graham has a brother Peter who has a job cleaning a banquet hall. Something like that would be great if JJ could someday learn to, they've taught him a lot of life skills like washing the dishes and vacuuming and stuff like that. And he's not great at it, but he does it, begrudgingly, but he does it. Like, that'd be great if you figure out how to run I don't know if I feel comfortable running a snow plow, but working a shovel, go around the neighborhood, shovel everybody's thing, pick up the garbage. That's one of my dreams for him, that he's like has a little job to contribute to society and have a little self-worth that's derived from work. I think, good about yourself. But he has a great little life. I mean, his apartment's nicer than mine sometimes, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. The other members in
middle
the
of
home, are
nowhere,
they
but
his age? They're all young,
there's
or
one kid who's got Downs, is about his age, but
Mhm.
he's much less disabled because he can speak. He
right?
can. He's little,
Mhm.
and JJ could absolutely, if he
Crush him, probably.
crush him.
Yeah.
But he's probably twice his size.
Mhm.
But he can talk. Morning, JJ. He's like
Mhm.
happy. A lot of Downs kids are very happy.
Yeah.
And then there's like a lady who's like 70, 76 or something. I think she has autism. I don't know if they call it that when she's, in her
Oh,
40s, but she like doesn't really talk. She carries her little flags. There's a guy who's like,
there's a woman in the house, so it's not all
yeah,
guys.
it's not all guys, it's a mix. It's
Oh.
Sweden. It's very,
Different.
yeah, very co-ed. Yeah.
Hmm.
I think there's 2 or 3 ladies and then 4 guys. There's another guy who's about 26. Those are the 2 people that are closest age.
Mhm.
And there's 3 older people. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's good to have a mix. You get too many young guys with their hormones, and I think it's
Yeah.
good to have a mix. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's different,
Um,
completely different energy.
So did they have experience with people with autism before you got there? I mean, it sounds like the older woman might be autistic, but like, were they ready to handle him? Any kind of training? Like, how did that go?
I thought they were great as far as, they ask him, they have me write these letters of like what he likes and what he doesn't like. So you write, and then but they've had to make a lot of adjustments for him. Like he's a food guy. So if you leave him
Mhm.
to his tithers, is that an expression? He'll just go find food. So they had to make this big wooden, it's kind of like a fence inside between the living room and the kitchen, and at dinner, and they lock it after 10, and it's locked with
Yeah.
a lock, an actual lock.
Oh yeah.
And if you don't keep an eye on him, he'll figure out where you hid the keys, and he'll go unlock it and try to. He'll put some
Yeah,
chicken nuggets.
that's
in
an issue for a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of autistic people, is that,
But
a lot of
They didn't
people
have to
have to
do it
lock
until
up
he
the
got
food.
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So they've had to do that. They had to. He figured out a way to tear up the baseboards and then get his hands under and pull up the planks. So now they've done like this kind of a polished, I don't know what it is, kind of a mix between concrete and rubber. It's like a pretty clever floor. So
Mhm.
he's figured out a way to pull up some of it, but most of it's still down.
Huh.
They had to the pipes in the bathroom, they had to try to put a lot of buildings in Sweden. The way it works is you'll have 200-year-old buildings, 300, so they'll just put the pipes outside of
Oh,
the wall. So in the bathroom,
don't
you have pipes.
freeze?
Sorry, like in the bathroom, they won't be in the walls. They'll just
Oh, got it.
run because the building's old, and it's like, I'll just leave the pipes outside. And there's an issue, then we can just sit
Okay,
inside the house, but outside of the wall.
got it.
And so he will just sometimes just grab them and just
Oh,
break. So yeah,
yeah, they need to build a box around that.
yes.
Yeah, with a
So they
lock.
started putting those in the wall for him. So they've adjusted to him. He's got a door that opens to the outside that they lock at night, but during the day he like goes outside, and it's really good. He lives in the north. Sweden's a big country. I think it's like the size of California, but there's only like 9 million people, so there's a lot of space.
Hmm.
So yeah, so he's got a little space. He's got his little scooters. He's getting a little lazy, which is not great. So I'm trying to get him. Yeah, he does the same thing with the horse. He likes horses. We still found a place from Red Horses. He likes that.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's why he's in Sweden. Not
Right.
great, but not bad.
Yeah. So the reason that you chose Sweden over trying to find him a place in the US is
Well, we were in California. I had him on a wait list forever. We lived in
Mhm.
LA for 5 years, and I was on a wait list. I think he's still on the wait list. Nobody's ever called me. Nobody's ever called me. I never took him off the list. I've had the same phone number for 20 years, so they've got my number.
right, right,
And he was on wait list in Texas, same thing.
right. Right.
So
Well, you have to be in danger of imminent peril, basically.
yeah, basically what
That's
I
how
feel
it
like
works.
they do in this country is they try to wear you down and
Yes,
get you to give up, get you to move to
yes,
Sweden or do something. Yeah.
yes, exactly, exactly.
Versus in Sweden, they just do like, oh, it looks like he's really disabled. He needs this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Talk to him for 2 minutes. You'll look like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And I know you were supposed to go see him in December and that got all messed up, right?
Yeah. It was for his birthday, and then it was right at the Omicron thing came up, and they changed the testing. The flights got canceled. I tried to book a direct flight because, the connections are like one issue, and I've got a small, so they added the stop, and it was in Norway, and it was, or somewhere where I had like, had a testing issue. So I'm like, I'm gonna get stuck there. So I had to cancel it. It's very frustrating.
Mhm.
But honestly, it's a frustrating time for a lot of people. So what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Yeah. At least you can do your little FaceTime every day. But I'll tell
Yeah.
you, your mother's right. I came to the same realization with my son because he was 20 when we were going to put him into the group home, and I didn't want to put him in. And then I realized, wait a minute, if he wasn't autistic, he'd be in college right now. No 20-year-old wants to hang out with his parents. They want to be with
All
their
day.
friends all the time. They want to
Yes.
be on their own, doing their own thing. And it just dawned on me, when I thought about it that way, because to me, I always treated him like a baby. But if I
Yeah.
thought of him as a 20-year-old young man, I was like, yeah, you're right. And he was happier there.
Well, that's another thing. God rest her soul. But his mom always treated him like he's a little baby, and he would get away with murder with her. He would try things with her that he would try with anybody else. From having, he doesn't want to eat the table. He wants to be laying on his bed, have his food brought to him, to everything. Just like
Yeah.
somehow they know, and they're like a little manipulative about like, oh, mom will
Uh-huh.
do this. Mom will be like, oh, he doesn't try it on dad. Dad's not doing that.
Right. And
You
that's what
wanna
I was
eat? Come
wondering, if
here.
he did that with the women in the group home. Does he pull that stuff with them?
He tries sometimes, but they're also professional. This is the whole job. So it's like, it's different when like, I don't know, like it's just a different mentality when like he has an accident. Okay, so then they go to the cupboard, they've got latex gloves, they've got this, they've got that, they pick it up, they put everything in the hamper, then they do the laundry every day. Cause like, that's what they're doing that's the whole job. So it's not like,
Yeah. Well, it sounds different because here I felt like the people watching Robbie were babysitters.
well,
And
that's the other thing about here. I
they
feel
were
like a lot of
clueless.
times you're paying people minimum wage. It's tough to get people to do stuff for minimum wage.
Right.
You
And
have
that's
to pay
exactly what
people-
it is.
Yeah, you have to pay people more than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a tough job.
Yes. Yeah. So that's my dream goal, is to improve that here in the US, the whole group home situation, and
Well, just the
have
funding.
qualified staff.
If you paid people would do it.
Right. It's always about the money.
Yeah, I mean, you can't blame somebody like, listen, I like taking care of your son. I'm making $28,000 a year, and I'd like to buy a car someday or whatever. It's like,
Yeah. Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like, what are you gonna say? Yeah, I get it. You want to work in and out? No, but they pay you twice as much. I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, so tell everybody about you, your job, your work, how they can find you, about your podcast, your books, and all of that.
Usually I work most of the clubs in New York City. When COVID's over, which I'm hoping is 2 more months, you can find me at Kirk Smith Comedy on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everything. I've written a couple books. The first book is called Rice Krispies with Ketchup. It's a series of like basically 20 letters I would write to a younger me, things I wish I had known about, your dreams are not his dreams. So like, you mourn the loss of your dreams, being patient with yourself, choosing just 20 important things that are obvious once you hear them, but at the time were not obvious to me.
Mm-hmm.
And just short stories. And then over the COVID, I got a job in the moving business, and I wrote a book about it. It's just the same thing, 20 short stories, just learning from other people and trying to be patient with people. It's just funny and encouraging. And it's called Moving. I hope you
Moving?
like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're on Amazon, I'm assuming?
Yeah, you can get them Amazon, bookstores. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I read your book, The Rice Krispies with the Ketchup, because when you came to
I brought those
my
copies.
event, you gave out a free copy to all the moms there, which was very generous of you and very nice. And
I hope you liked it.
And as I said, the moms loved it. So since then, I am in the process of starting a foundation, the Robbie's World Foundation, because we raised money for that event, and everybody kept asking, what's the name of the foundation? Who do I write the check out to? And I was like, well, no, it's just me. So this time I have a foundation. So we're going to do more events. I'd like to do about like three
Smart.
this year in New Jersey, and then maybe take it on the road. Who knows? But that was like my test. And I
feel
thought,
like
and
the
it went
moms
really
liked
well.
it.
And everybody wants to do it again. So, so I'm going to be in touch to have you come do more of my events. Maybe we'll get Graham
I'd love
to
to.
do a couple. it would be great. So we had a lot of fun having you there. So Kirk Smith Comedy, your books are on there. They can find you, and I guess if they follow your Instagram, you tell people where your gigs are.
Yeah, I try to post this week. I think I'm doing the next 3 weeks on a Carnival cruise ship. Not to brag. Sorry, that's funny because it's not a brag. It's a very working class situation. Out of Baltimore, doing the Panama Canal this week, and then I am back in New York. Week of shows, February the 11th through the 19th, I believe.
Okay, right through Valentine's Day there.
Oh, is it Valentine's Day? I didn't even.
Yeah, February 14th.
Together. Oh wait, sorry. Jeez Louise, I'm way off. February 6th to the 14th.
Got it.
And then doing some more ships, a couple of Europe things.
That was ships, SHIPS that he said. Yes.
Yes, ships. Yes, a clean podcast episode.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got another idea for a book coming out later this year. Keep your eyes out for that. And that's it. Just baby steps. Baby steps.
Yay. All right, Kirk, thanks so much for being with us, telling us a little bit of your story, and also the Autastic podcast. You want to listen to that. It's the only one I follow. With you and Graham, awesome. Right? So anybody who's listening to an autistic podcast, you want to listen to Autastic as well. Thank you. Follow Kirk and Graham. I'm going to have Graham on the show as well. I just talked to him before I talked to you. I'm going to interview him next week. So
be great.
Okay.
Be great.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks. You have a good night.
Thank you.
That's it for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed listening and it helped you gain a new perspective. If you're interested in buying our book series, Robbie's World and His Spectrum of Adventures, the link will be in our episode description, as well as my Instagram and Facebook pages. If you enjoyed the show and you'd like more content, please be sure to hit that like button, follow us, and don't forget to leave us a great review. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.
Thank you for joining us today. Be sure to join us again on our next episode of Spectrum Perspectives.